Priorities for the people, new taxes on the rich, and more government, always more. In New York City, apparently, that's a recipe for electoral success. The progressive socialist candidate, 33-year-old Zohran Mamdani, emerged victorious from New York City's Democratic mayoral primary last night. And this morning, New Yorkers awoke to the reality that this guy could soon be running the show. Mamdani's overnight rise from little-known state lawmaker to presumptive Democratic nominee for mayor of the nation's biggest city has sent shockwaves across the country.
If this campaign has demonstrated anything to the world, it is that our dreams can become reality.
He adopted a freewheeling, talk-to-anybody campaign style and bested a crowded field of Democratic rivals. Among his pledges, according to his own campaign website, freeze rent on city housing, make bus service free, start government-owned grocery stores, offer free child care, give every newborn in the city a free baby basket, raise the city's minimum wage to $30 by 2030, and Trump-proof New York City. Mamdani has said he will fund his very generous services by raising $10 billion in taxes on corporations and all New Yorkers earning more than $1 million a year, at least those who don't pack up and move someplace else. Mamdani has also courted controversy with his very vocal criticism of Israel, and he's accused of being anti-Semitic. Not surprisingly, President Trump called him, as we said earlier, a 100% communist lunatic. But Republicans can't seem to hide their glee at the possibility of Mamdani becoming the new face of the Democratic Party nationwide. That is the doomsday scenario many Democrats are hoping to avoid, including my next guest, New York Congresswoman, Democrat Laura Gillen. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. You said today that Mamdani is too extreme and the absolute wrong choice for New York City mayor. Why?
Look, he ran a campaign based on a bunch of promises, free everything, without any real economic plan to pay for it other than raising taxes. We are facing a cost of living crisis. It is hard for families to get by. By raising taxes, you are not lowering costs. In fact, you're just passing them on to other folks. New York City is the economic engine that drives our state, and we need to make sure New York City thrives. We've already seen a mass exodus of businesses and people leaving New York State. Raising taxes will only cause more people to flee and crater the economy of our city. That's wrong for New York, and we cannot have that.
Well, here's the other big problem. The mayor of New York can't raise taxes. That's not what he doesn't have that power. That belongs to the state legislature and the governor.
Yes, that's in fact, and he ran this campaign with all these promises about all these things that he was going to do, and most of the things that he promised to do, he actually cannot do legally. And the things that he can do, he's grossly underestimated the costs by tens of billions of dollars.
One observer called his plan, quote, economic lunacy. Current embattled mayor Eric Adams called him a snake oil salesman, but there is no arguing that he has caught fire with the far left wing of the Democratic Party. What does this mean for more mainstream Democrats like yourself?
Well, I think it's incumbent upon my Democratic colleagues to speak up and to say what our party stands for. We are not socialists. What we stand for is keeping our community safe, giving people a safe place to live, but also making sure that we're lowering costs. We're fighting against this bill that's going to raise health care costs for every American and strip health care away from Americans. I'm fighting for my district against things like congestion pricing, which puts more tax burden on my already overtaxed constituents. I'm fighting against the cap on the salt tax, which really, really hurts all the members of my district.
Yeah.
This is the thing that we should be fighting for the working class, fighting for the middle class and preserving the middle class, and not espousing far-left ideology.
It is notable that Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, both New York Democrats, congratulated Mamdani for winning today, but they did not endorse him, at least not yet. Do you think they will?
I can't speak to what they'll do, but I certainly have shared my concerns with leaders.
Yeah, loud and clear. We did read President Trump's reaction. He called Mamdani a communist lunatic. Mamdani has been very, very critical of Israel's war in Gaza, has even said that he would, if he was mayor, have Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrested if he ever came to New York City.
Right, and that hits on another really, really important point. New York City is the home to the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. How can someone who traffics in that kind of speech represent that constituency effectively? His comments are really disturbing. His comments about intifada, calls for violence against Jewish people. It's really inappropriate for someone like that to lead the city of New York.
Yeah, and I think we only have to look at, for example, the great city of Chicago to see what happened to that progressive mayor who was elected there. Is now has abysmal approval ratings there. It's been, according to many people who live in Chicago, a bit of a disaster.
Yes, listen, look, socialism doesn't work. We need to lower costs for Americans, but in a responsible way. That is what I am fighting to do every single day in Congress, to make sure that the people who live in my district can afford to stay there, that their parents can afford to stay there, and that young people want to come back. And the way we do that is by helping businesses thrive, so there are good jobs for people to come back to, so they can afford to pay the rents and the taxes that we already have to pay in New York, which are pretty high.
Congressman Laura Gillen, thank you so much, from the 4th District in the state of New York. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.